Welcome back to the Heat Check Podcast. I am your host, Chris Patrick, and with me today, as always, are my co-hosts, PewDiePie's newest video editor, Michael Benjamin.
What up, what up? I'm working overtime, boys.
He's very busy these days, but also, you cannot forget, the Live Golf Tour ball washer, VSP Tallman.
Dude, you got me with the PewDiePie thing. I'm sorry. Yeah, washing all the balls, man.
Yeah, you're washing balls. Mike's been killing it, editing videos for Valley Sports Plug and PewDiePie now. That's a tall task, my friend.
Hey, congratulations.
I appreciate it. I'm expanding my horizons. What can I say?
It's incredible,
Gotta
dude.
do it to him, but
Incredible.
we're excited to be back with you guys recording our June episode of the Heat Check Podcast. We are recording this on Saturday, June 24th, and it is late, fellas. It's 11 p.m. as we're recording this, so
I gotta go home.
Tallman has to go, so it's just going to be me and Michael Benjamin tonight. Don't even worry about it. We're going to bring you all the latest in Valley sports pertaining to the Suns, the Diamondbacks, and I guess the Arizona Cardinals. We could talk about them, right, guys?
Do we have to?
There's not much to report on, to be honest, but there's a little bit. There's enough to talk about, and you know I love to get fired up and talk shit about Jonathan Gannon and Kyler Murray and the whole motley crew over here in Arizona.
I was lying. I really want to talk about the Cardinals.
We know, Tom.
All he wants to talk about is J.G. Wentworth.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was the jingle?
Yeah, what is 877 cash? No, wait.
The JG, the Gannon jingle. It's similar to JG Wentworth, but it's the...
You mean?
I need a new quarterback now.
I need a new quarterback now.
Oh, that's what
yeah.
Bow, bow, bow.
Yeah, shots, explosions.
Explosions. That's what we're going to be this year. Explosions.
Exactly. But no, while we have the energy, while we're awake, let's go ahead and get into the hard-hitting topics. And we got to start off with the Suns because even though they are no longer in season, the off-season is kicking off and in full swing. We just had the NBA draft this last weekend. The Suns had a late second-round pick and got Kamara Tumasala or some shit. What was his name?
Oh, no. Are you saying he's not going to be a contributor for this Phoenix Suns team, Chris? Is that what you're saying right now?
I'm not going to say... he's going to be on the roster.
Like Kamara, too much salsa? What is it?
Too much salsa? I mean, after a season in Arizona, it'll probably be too much salsa. Do you got his... I couldn't probably pronounce his last name even if it was right in front of me. No disrespect to this young man or anything.
Tumani Kamara.
Oh,
you weren't even
I
close.
flipped his last name and his first name.
Where's the salsa at?
It's over at Filiberto's.
Okay, all right.
Too much sauce. But besides that fact, I'm burying the lead here because that is not the number one pressing story with the Phoenix Suns right now. You've probably all heard by now, but we got to talk about it. It is the trade we made with the Washington Wizards for one Bradley Beal, former All-Star, been on the Wizards his entire career, but now becoming the third head of the three-headed monster that is this Phoenix Suns team to go alongside Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. A lot of questions about if this fit is going to work. He's another player similar to Kevin Durant who, when healthy, is lethal, but prone to injury and missing time and not being in games. So that is my, number one concern. I tend to come out on these podcasts, I think, and be kind of the pessimist of the bunch. And I hate to do it, but I think it's an important role to play. So hopefully, Mike, you can bring us some optimism. Is there any, or I shouldn't say is there any, but what are the upsides to bringing on Bradley Beal to join this group?
First and foremost, I got to say, guys, I was shocked. This one kind of came out of left field for me.
Yep.
Call me not somebody who's tapped in correctly, but I know that we saw our guy. Oh my God, who's he from Jersey? I always forget
Flex
his
from
name.
Jersey.
Flex, the man. He kind of posted about how Bradley Beal had that no trade clause, and the Suns were one of the top teams that he was pointing his direction towards. And I mean, Brad Beal, man. It's crazy to think he was the third overall pick in 2012. So this man has a decade of experience in the NBA. He's a three-time All-Star. He's averaged 30-plus points twice. He has a 27-point average over the last 5 seasons combined. But like Chris said, last season, he shot a career-best 50.6% from the field, 23.2 points, but only over 50 games. Definitely had some injuries that he was dealing with. But he was an All-NBA third-team player in 2020, 2021. but just hasn't had a lot of success in this league, basically because he's been on the Washington Wizards. So, Chris, there's optimism for me because at the end of the day, I know we see the whole picture with the cap room and, between our four main guys with Kevin Durant, Booker, Beal, and Ayton, we're already over that first threshold. We only have 8 guys that are under contract for next year. But with a move like this, it seems to me that there's a plan in place, right? The movement isn't done with this team just yet. I mean, for the fact that this happened, what else is coming next? Who are we going to be able to bring in at those veteran minimums? What other guys are we going to be able to coax here now that Devin Booker has done what he put out into the universe and kind of had the prophecy about creating his own super team and bringing it here to Phoenix? And it's an okay start. It's easy to say that, yes, we are always worried about injuries and whatnot. And unfortunately, these guys have a track record over the past couple of seasons of just, missing multiple games, missing extended amount of time, to be honest with you. You can look between Book and KD themselves and Bradley Beal last year. But it's all going to come down to who else you can build around. But this is just unprecedented territory for this Phoenix Suns team right now. I mean, Matt Ishbia is pulling his nuts out and putting them on the table. That's all I can say right now.
His nuts and his wallet. He is ready to push that luxury tax limit to its max. And you bring up a lot of great points there, Mike, and I couldn't have said it better myself. But Tallman, to loop you in here, we always say with any professional sports team, with any professional athlete, the best characteristic or the best quality in a pro athlete is what? Their availability, right? And so,
absolutely, yeah.
Mike, you mentioned that Bradley Beal only played 50 games for the Wizards last season. I actually tweeted this out earlier in the week. And Davey, shout out Davey, he called me a doomer a little bit, but here's some stats for you, man. Bradley Beal hasn't played more than 60 games in a season since the 2018-2019 season. Devin Booker hasn't played more than 70 games in a season since 2016-2017. That one's a little cherry-picked. I had to kind of fudge his list. 70 isn't bad. That means he's only missed about 12. But then Kevin Durant hasn't played more than 55 games in a season since 2018-2019. So basically what I'm getting at is you can count on all three of these guys to miss somewhere between 10 and 30 games, respectfully. And that's, for me, that's a point of concern. What do you think? Is that concerning for you?
Man, I think we're at the point where I don't really care about the regular season anymore. Do you guys care about it? I mean, this team right now, how it's set up, granted, we have to fill out that roster.
Absolutely.
And then I think we're going to talk about the salary cap hit and the second apron shit that they're putting in, which is really going to hit the Suns hard after this Bradley Beal trade. But at this point, I mean, who cares? They're a shoo-in in the playoffs, right? Can we agree on that? So regular season
if healthy,
doesn't matter.
asterisks, if healthy.
Yeah, you're right, yeah. And then at that point, it's like, yeah, we're gonna win 50+ games, right? We're gonna make the playoffs. So I guess I don't know. I think my mind is a little tainted from Chris Paul getting hurt and can't make it through a playoff series. So it's gonna come down to, okay, we're in the playoffs. Can all these guys come together and be healthy for a 5, 6, 7 game series? And that's how I like the regular season doesn't like Booker playing 70 games. That's crazy. That's a lot. We don't need our stars to play that many games because we're gonna win. We should. Okay, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself.
On paper, right? On paper,
we should.
I agree with you to an extent about the regular season not meaning that much as long as you secure yourself a playoff spot and you're able to get there. But what I think is important for the regular season is to have all three of these guys be healthy at the same time, build camaraderie,
see what it looks like,
and see what it looks like, see how they play together.
How do you figure it out? Yeah,
exactly. But you're absolutely
Who's gonna play
right.
point?
Who's going to play point? Yeah, I think point Book is probably the best option.
It's going to happen.
But Bradley Beal has been known to also kind of have that similar responsibility and ability to play the 1 and the 2 position. But you're absolutely right about needing them needing to fill out the roster and put some more pieces around these guys because we can't have a 3-man rotation. That just doesn't exist. You obviously got to at least have 5 starters on the court. And then the Nuggets ran a pretty solid 8-man rotation, and they won a championship. So I'd like to see us emulate something like that. Probably get another, at least 2 or 3 guys that we trust to step on the court and make an impact day in and day out, especially given the fact that we know these guys are going to miss games. So you're going to need those guys to play minutes during the regular season and be out there for 30, 40 minutes or whatever it ends up being. I did want to touch on, I didn't write it down here on my notes, but we were talking a little bit in show prep about how the Suns have thrown their hat in the pursuit of Tobias Harris from the Philadelphia 76ers. And from the limited reading I did, it looks like that deal would obviously include DeAndre Ayton, but not necessarily going to the Sixers. They would need a third team to come in, take DeAndre Ayton, and give some pieces back to the Sixers so that we can land Tobias Harris. Mike, what do you feel, or how do you feel about bringing in a guy like Tobias Harris to probably be a starter and the fourth man in this team?
I feel like we're trying to go back to the 2021, or not the 2021, the 2001 Arizona Diamondbacks, where we were just building a roster of all super veterans, and it ended up working for us. I mean, that's great.
Now, yeah.
I don't hate Tobias Harris. Bigger body guy, got to be around 6'9". He can shoot the ball. He can still go off the dribble. He can play some defense. He can rebound the basketball, and I think a lot of that is going to factor into what you lose on your team, which could be from DeAndre Ayton. I know we've had struggles about how he rebounds and whatnot, but he's still getting you around 10 rebounds a game. So if you don't have that, you got to fill your different positions to get that. But, man, they're going to have to get really, really strategic and, pull out some magic in regard to filling out this team and this roster around these top 3 guys, because if you put together their averages, it's got to be close to 80 points, right, between those 3. So you're not looking for scoring, you're looking for guys who can do everything else. And I feel like Tobias Harris has done that the past couple of seasons behind Joel Embiid, who has been a mainstay for their offense, a guy who was averaging 25 plus points, an MVP in this league now. So he's filled in a different type of role as a starter, as a guy who can do the little dirty work. So I don't hate that. I'm honestly all about that. I would take Tobias Harris in a heartbeat. I mean, your team gets older, but guys, that's what we're going to have to be with all of these contracts. We're going to have to be a team that is filled with veteran minimum guys.
Yeah. I mean, but in that situation, though, we would be inheriting his contract that he already has with Philadelphia, which I think is like 20 mil or so, if I'm not mistaken.
Let me look it up.
I mean, but when that's compared to what we're already paying DeAndre Ayton, if we're offloading DeAndre Ayton's contract, we would be able to take on Tobias Harris.
Yeah, you're going to still have that wiggle room.
Right. But that still brings into question who else we're going to be able to fill in on this roster to put around him. And I do want to touch on some other pieces about how we got Bradley Beal, and obviously the elephant in the room, moving on from Chris Paul. What's his contract looking like? Is it $30 million?
Oh, it's more than DeAndre.
Oh no.
It's 5 years, $180 million. He's $36 million average. DA is at $32 million average.
Jesus.
Yeah, so he's more. It doesn't help us. When you're sitting here with Kevin Durant making $47 million, Beal making $46, Booker making $36, and then DA making $32. So you bring on Tobias, he's making the same amount as Devin Booker.
When did he sign that deal? How many years are left on Harris's contract?
Let me go back. I'm sorry.
More like a salary dump. That's funny because we're complaining about DeAndre Ayton being a fourth option and being a glorified role player, getting paid at max. I feel like it would be a step down if you add in a Tobias Harris for that kind of rate, but
he signed it in 2019.
Okay, so
it's at the end. So he's making $39 million this year.
Gotcha.
But then he's it's the end of the contract after that.
So
obviously.
It's just this season, and then he's a free agent. So yeah, that makes sense then, because I think you can only be over the salary cap and paying the luxury tax for so long before you start incurring penalties. And I forget which team it was. It might have been the 76ers. One of those teams, they the league, or no, it was the Hawks actually. The league told them they have to clear they can't have the salary cap they do because they've broken the luxury tax for so many consecutive seasons that they're like, you have to move someone. So that brings into question guys like Clint Cappella and John Collins, who are also on the table. Mike, do either of those guys intrigue you as a Ayton replacement?
Ooh, I might have been I wouldn't say excited, but I might have been okay with Clint Cappella. I think it would depend on who else you have backing up as well. Like, are you giving him full starter minutes? Is he playing 32 to 35 minutes a game? He can rebound the basketball at a high clip, but he's also a guy who's getting a little bit older. I want some youth to be infused within that. John Collins seems to be a little bit hit or miss as well. I know one of the other guys that they were talking about with the Atlanta Hawks was DeAndre Hunter. I wouldn't mind him coming off the bench if they were to look in grabbing two of those guys, if it were to be some kind of package with DeAndre Ayton, and you could get, say, DeAndre Hunter and Clint Cappella. And now when I'm really thinking about it, I'm probably leaning more towards Clint Cappella over John Collins, just because the amount of top-heavy scoring we have, we don't need it from anybody else. And I feel like John Collins is still one of those guys who wants to kind of go out there and get his own. And to be honest with you, Clint Cappella has been in that role of rebounding at a very heavy clip, playing some good defense, blocking shots, going back to his time with Houston. And isn't that kind of what we were talking about if we were to look to move DeAndre Ayton and bring in another center?
Yes.
A guy who can do that and get paid less money. So I'm okay. I'd be okay. Obviously, there's still a lot of things to happen. I mean, free agency hasn't even started yet. It's just crazy that the moves are already being made, and now the Suns are putting themselves in an early position to start to structure their roster how they want to see fit. But as Tallman has kind of brought to the table, it's going to be a struggle, and it's going to be something that, you know, this front office with James Jones and Matt Ishbia are really going to have to cross their I's and dot their T's when it comes down to bringing in new guys for this next season.
Dude, absolutely, man. I mean, the Cappella part, it gets the juices flowing, man. It makes me tingle a little bit in spots where I shouldn't tingle, right? If you can pull that off and you can switch out, because Capella's only going to be paid $18 million this year, right? If we can figure that out and somehow do a 3-4 team trade or whatever, but we're sitting here like, guys, we're going to get hit so hard on this new this second apron or second tax apron that's coming out here with the collective bargaining agreement. All right, I mean, we're talking about it a little bit, but I mean, it's going to hit us so hard. So this, what I'm looking at right here, it came out in April, and this is well before we brought on Bradley Beal making $46 million. So right now, the Suns, we're looking at $47 million for Kevin Durant, $46 million for Bradley Beal, $36 million for Devin Booker, and $32 million for DeAndre Ayton. So at this point in time, like, he's got to go. There's no if and buts about it. Like, DeAndre Ayton has to get moved off this fucking roster, or how are we gonna have a fucking team? How are we gonna have 14 players to start? It's not gonna work out. And what's great about it though is we're gonna have an owner who looks at this second apron tax, and he probably doesn't give a shit, right? Going through some of the stuff that's coming in. So the second apron is going to include the loss of mid-level exception, a ban on including cash as part of trades, and the inability to accept more salary in a trade than the team sends out. A team in the second apron will also be unable to aggregate salary in trades and cannot trade its first-round pick 7 years in the future, which is maybe why we probably shelled out all of our first-round picks. I mean, NBA draft in Phoenix is just another day. It doesn't matter. Like, we're not going to be picking anything in the future. It doesn't even matter. It also adds that you can't sign players on the buyout market. So
that seems so. Am I crazy? I'm not a lawyer or anything, but that seems so restricting.
They're trying to
create parity in the league.
No. They're trying to get people to deter from making the super teams.
Exactly.
Because remember the super teams died, and then now we have a super team in Phoenix.
But okay.
And then they just pop out this right when we create a super team.
I guess. How many super teams really worked and had longevity? I mean, the Heat,
LeBron James,
the Heat, obviously,
Wade,
and you could argue the Warriors, but they had already won without Kevin Durant before they added him.
Didn't they win twice with Durant? No, once. Sorry,
I think just one.
They won twice.
They won twice with Durant,
back to back, right?
So that's a super team, absolutely.
But 3 of those guys were homegrown talents that were all picked
True.
by the Golden State
And
Warriors, and then they added in Kevin Durant. So they did create an even more a crazy super team. But I see what you're saying there, Tallman.
And then the Nets tried to make a super team.
Yeah, and
Didn't work
that's
out.
what I'm saying. It doesn't that just because you're creating on paper a super team doesn't mean it always works out. But I guess I get it. I just don't understand kind of the stuff about like not being able to sign players on the buyout market, not being able to include cash in trades. That kind of stuff seems a little bit arbitrary to me.
7 years in the future, you can't trade your first round pick. Granted, the Suns don't have one, like we said, but damn.
Well, and if you guys, anyone goes back and watches the live stream Mike and I did, watching the NBA draft, we kind of talked about that proposition of like, if you're a team that's winning and finding success and you have a first round pick, do you even need to bring a guy on? Because you already probably have your starting 5 built out. And are you going to want to bring a rookie onto a championship roster and have him play significant minutes? And then it's like that argument we were talking about of bringing on, would you draft a guy in the first round to be a role player or a bench guy or someone you just build up? And so I think it makes sense for teams to trade their first round pick if they genuinely don't have a need to rebuild and get those young guys, and let the teams that are rebuilding compile 2, 3, 4 first round picks if they want and build their roster that way. That makes sense to me.
Do you remember our last first round pick for the Suns?
Oh, was it Devin Booker?
Jalen Smith, right?
Oh,
Jalen Smith, yeah.
Oh, Jalen Smith, okay.
In 2020, yeah.
I was way wrong because we had drafted Josh Jackson also.
Yes, yeah.
Before that.
3rd overall.
Where's Josh Jackson now? G League, I think.
Is he in the G League? Wow, good for him.
Last I saw, yeah.
Oh, he's awful.
He's not in Maccabi Tel Aviv with Dragan Bender? Are you sure?
I think he's heading
My
there, or maybe
goodness.
he's going to go play with Overtime Elite. I don't know if he has eligibility for that or not.
Overtime elite.
Oh, man. And I don't want to go into that because I was watching this.
That's where the Thompson twins.
I was going to say,
came-
quick.
or, it was Thompson.
Yeah, the Thompson twins. Quick
came from-
sidebar. Yeah, I was watching a video about the Thompson twins that the Overtime Elite put out, kind of congratulating them on both getting drafted. And this is totally unrelated to what
Who
we're
the
talking
fuck
about.
are they playing?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
makes them so
I
special.
worry if they're going to be
Like,
ready
what?
for the NBA.
Exactly.
Having not to say that college is the elite level of competition, but the Overtime Elite competition is even less, in my opinion, than the NCAA, because they only have like 4 official teams, and then they play like private schools that aren't like private colleges that aren't in the NCAA and not competing in that. So it's like, how much real competition and real basketball action are you getting? But again, that's sidebar. We'll see what the Thompson twins do. They were both top 5 picks, that's impressive.
But it's first time ever 2 brothers when
Two brothers.
Trivia
They were,
question for you.
top 5 in the
I
draft.
don't know if this is true, but we'll just say it's true.
Okay.
Who were the last twins that were drafted in the first round in the NBA
Marquise
draft?
Morris and Markieff Morris.
Boom.
Yeah.
Tallman, you get the gold star.
And it's Marcus, not
I know.
Marquise.
Fuck you. Sorry,
Close-
excuse my
close enough.
language.
Well, hey, Chris,
What did I say? I said Markieff.
You said Marquise, I think.
are you saying
Oh, I
that
said
league
Marcus.
Split
isn't
hairs.
really at the top level? Haven't you seen their stadium? Haven't you seen all the sparkly lights there?
It is impressive. I saw a lot of clips of Thompson twins dunking on mediocre competition. So I think that's
That's
enough.
what it is.
I think that's enough to draft them top 5, in my opinion.
And you can argue that shit about fucking Wembenyama too.
Yeah,
Where they're playing in France, dude. What the fuck? He's,
yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
I'm
how good- how
trying
good
to
is
pull
the
up his
French
stats
basketball
right
league?
here, man.
But I mean-
for the Metropolitans,
I think it's
92.
with Wembenyama though. You're more of just he's like not necessarily a freak athlete, but just
Did
like
you see him throw out the first pitch at that baseball game?
I didn't see him throw out the pitch, but I saw him holding a baseball, and it was like
Ridiculous.
it was like me
Oh
holding
my
a
God.
golf ball.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly, bro.
Absolutely absurd. Him standing
It
next to
was an awful throw.
Him standing
Yeah,
next
it
to
was
Adam.
Really bad.
Well, how could you throw a baseball when you're
I
fucking
don't know.
hand? They should have had him throw out a basketball as the first pitch. That probably would have been better.
He could control it with 3 fingers. Come on. If you're an athlete, you're an athlete. You can throw any
guess.
fucking ball. It's not that hard.
Dude, his
Okay,
fingernail is as big as my entire finger.
All right, he averaged 21 points, 10 rebounds.
Well, I'm saying, and that's the thing. Like with Wembenyama, it's different because he's big, he's lengthy. His wingspan is the same as like 8 Subway footlongs or something like that.
Ask Jared about that.
Oh God. But besides the fact, and with Wembenyama too, did you see that clip of like he shot a 3, chased his own rebound, and then fucking like dunked it?
I did not see that.
It was that one was making the rounds. So I mean,
I take that back then.
I don't want to
Maybe
get
it's
into
gonna be good.
Wemby. We can have the Wemby boomer bust conversation as the off season goes on and we get into next season. But while we're still on basketball and the Suns, obviously we all know, and we've been talking about how we need to fill out this roster, some potential ads. I got a few more points that I want to make, and then we can maybe move on to something else. But when talking about guys we can bring on or maybe bring back, how would you guys feel? And Mike, I'll ask you first. How would you feel about bringing back a guy like Jay Crowder?
Oh, you got to ask me first if we can bring back Jay Crowder. See, the problem with any kind of situation like that is that we're all in the dark. We all don't know what really happened except for what's been posted. All the cryptic tweets, all of the, my time is coming, all this
Monty's
kind of stuff.
Gone. It's probably a Monty thing.
Is it a
right?
Monty thing,
It's
right?
probably a Monty thing.
That's the rumors that have been coming out more, right? Like once you got on Monty Williams' shit list, like it was kind of over for you. They were already saying that with DeAndre Ayton, and that was what they were saying was the big deal with Jay Crowder. It wasn't the situation about bringing Cam Johnson into the starting lineup. It wasn't the situation about a next contract. It was just a situation about these two guys didn't get along. So Monty Williams wasn't willing to kind of tide his personal preferences and bring in the best players that could continue to keep you at the successful rate that the Phoenix Suns team has been at the past 3 seasons. And we didn't get this guy to play at all before he was traded to the Milwaukee Bucks, and we saw what happened to them in the playoffs, and we saw what happened with Jay Crowder not contributing. So I think a big thing, the regime change, guys, the entire regime change is just completely shifted for this Phoenix Suns team. I know we have James Jones still listed and labeled as the GM, but as some reports have saying, Isaiah Thomas is in the ear of Matt Ishbia and has started to kind of become his right-hand man with, basketball operations. And James Jones is basically just kind of the face at this point. So, if they have a decent repertoire with Jay Crowder and good conversations and say, hey, it's a whole fresh start. You still got your boys who you were rocking with beforehand. I don't know if they ever had tiffs, if he ever had tiffs with Chris Paul. That's another guy that's gone. Maybe he and Landry Shamet were the worst of enemies. Now Landry Shamet is gone. So this would be a beautiful opportunity to bring it back. And Chris, before we're done with basketball, we got to talk about that too. But
absolutely.
I think it would just be kind of a tough pill to swallow after last season with the struggles that this team had early in the season with the amount of injuries that we had, and we were barely staying afloat. We had so many different losing streaks, and all we saw was Jay Crowder in street clothes, not even with the team. I feel like it's just too soon. It's one of those moments where it's like, I know he could probably come back and be a contributor, but I just don't know if the wounds would be healed at this point.
I would take Jay back, absolutely. Because if you sit back and you look at the roster of last year, where was our enforcer? Where was the guy? Where was our Draymond Green? Where was our Marcus Smart? Where was the guy that wore his emotions on his sleeve?
He did. He brought some attitude.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
right. He was always. He had everyone's back. He was out there talking smack. He was out there fucking
salsa dancing.
Yeah, there you go. No, he was playing with heart, man. He was playing with heart. So who was doing that for us last year? Can you think of anybody? Booker was.
Booker a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, but Booker's so even keel, man. I mean, you can't even. That's just how Booker is, right?
I mean, Cameron Payne's always dancing, so he could fit into that.
No, I'm talking about somebody.
Well, and maybe that's a great point, Cody, because maybe that's why what's his face, our Monty Williams didn't like Jay Crowder is because he's so peace and love and so calm. How often did you see Monty Williams get fired up? He never got ejected from a game. He never got crazy. And not saying you have to do that often, but when times warrant it, you want to see your coach get fired up and go after and defend their guys and protect your players.
It's not like absolutely. Baseball at all. I mean, I could probably count on one hand the times I've seen a basketball coach get ejected from a game. NBA, that is.
Well, we just saw earlier this week the Nationals manager was humping home plate, arguing with the ref and getting.
But that's baseball. That's part of the tradition, man. That's just what they do.
Well, and I feel like. I mean, maybe I don't want to say it's necessarily unique to baseball, but I feel like if your manager is ejected in baseball, the show can go on. maybe more so than if
you have a game plan.
head coach.
You know what you're gonna do, but
yeah.
Well, no, but I mean, that's what I'm saying though. Like with the Suns, it's like I would accept Jay Crowder with open arms. I mean, you bring him on, he would come back for the veterans minimum, obviously, right? I mean, he can't command much more than that at this point.
I don't think so, and I wouldn't be opposed to it either. I think I'm with you there, Tallman. Like, whatever happened, it's in the past now, and we're starting anew. We have Frank Vogel now. We still have Kevin Young, and now we even have Mike. Help me out. Who are our other assistant coaches? David Fizdale.
Take that for data.
They're not going to rook us. I love it. I love our coaching staff right now. I wasn't exactly sold on Frank Vogel when the news first came down, but man, Fizdale could be a head coach in this league, and the fact that we have him as an assistant, and also Kevin Young was even eyeing the head coaching job here in Phoenix. So we basically have 3 potential head coaches running this show, and not to mention Kevin Durant, who is a brilliant basketball mind, basically a player coach on the court, and will be able to mentor these young guys. I mean, I know that's why we had Chris Paul here initially, and I do want to get into that actually, is this deal that we made to get Bradley Beal, which actually just made official here in the last 24 hours or 48 hours, something like that. And it kind of breaks down like this. The Suns will acquire Bradley Beal, Jordan Goodwin, and Isaiah Todd. I didn't actually know this at first. This ended up being a 3-team deal. The Wizards got in this deal Chris Paul, Landry, Shamet, and the draft rights to Beal Kubier. And then the Pacers hopped in and they got the draft rights to Jarris Walker. And then also the Suns' 2028 second-round pick and the Wizards' 2029 second-round pick. And also, I shouldn't gloss over the fact that the Wizards got like all of our draft picks for the next 10 years. But, wow, holy cow, we got rid of Chris Paul. Is that a good thing, Mike?
It's a great thing.
It is great.
It's a great thing,
I agree with them,
right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
I think it's a great thing.
You got something. So you literally, we're talking about for months. Do you wave and stretch him, right? We're like, wave and stretch him, wave and stretch him, right? And then you could turn around and trade him and get Bradley Beal. Dude, we literally stole Bradley Beal. Like, that was an incredible trade.
Yeah.
Oh, second round picks. We already know. We already know how the Suns feel about draft picks. They don't give a fuck. Doesn't matter, dude.
The Suns haven't given a shit about draft picks since 2004.
Exactly.
Man.
So you're over here, and you can take Chris Paul and turn him into Bradley Beal. Granted, you owe Bradley Beal, dude, an astronomical amount of money.
Their only good draft pick of the last 7 to 10 years has been Devin Booker.
Yes,
so
yeah, and he was 13th. He was 13th round, or excuse me,
13th round. Holy shit,
13th round. Oh, 13th round.
Going back to the 1970s.
Jesus Christ, get it right. He was 13th overall. So yeah, I mean, goodbye. I mean, he's in Golden State. Does he fit there? No, he doesn't. Old man trying to play a fast-paced NBA, how that team plays basketball, it's not going to work out. I don't know how he fits in. And then you got Steph Curry starting point guard. What, is Chris Paul going to come off the bench? Is he okay with that? I cannot picture Chris Paul.
They'll start both of
being
them.
Okay coming off. You think, okay, so
Curry's
going to be
Clay will be
the 2. So
yeah,
fuck, they should drop Clay after what he did in the playoffs.
Okay, hold on one
can't.
second.
Pump the brakes.
Sorry,
pump the brakes.
that was dramatic, but he looked like a shell of himself. He was awful. Absolutely awful.
And I'm not saying pump the brakes on what you just said, Tallman. I'm saying pump the brakes on Chris Paul playing for the Golden State Warriors next year.
Ding, ding, ding.
You're talking about...
They can't trade him, right? They have to...
Oh, they could probably...
They'd have to waive him.
I mean, we're talking about the new GM and Mike Dunleavy, who literally had a press conference talking about how Jordan Poole was going to play for the team for the next 4 years, and 3 days later, they shipped his ass out. They're gonna waive him. They're gonna cut him, whatever. And Chris Paul's gonna find himself somewhere else because Chris Paul and Stephen Curry together makes absolutely no sense.
You're right. Yeah,
0 sense. So and they're not in
rebuilding
rebuilding mode. They can probably get some pieces once again, but I don't think you can get true incredible pieces for Chris Paul. But you can give yourself the cap space to try and get some other guys. You know, there's still some decent free agents out here in this class, but Chris Paul with Golden State at this point, I mean, Klay Thompson already took a step back, and Stephen Curry, I know, is still playing at an incredible rate, but he's only getting older as well. So to add a 38-year-old point guard into the mix with them and think that they're going to make a deep playoff run, it's just I don't think it's going to happen whatsoever.
Asinine, it is. So why are they over here shipping out Poole so quick? And then
Because Draymond punched him in the face.
Well, because Draymond's over here, but he declined
But
his.
Draymond's not even going to come back.
He declined his player option.
That's true.
So they're probably out here like, hey, Draymond, we're picking you over the kid. Like, punch him again on his way out. You know, like, they just fucking shipped him out so quick. But they paid him, though, too, before he went out.
Yeah.
Poole, yeah. So, all right, so you don't think he's going to get stuck? You don't think it's going to be like Chris Paul in OKC when he got stuck in OKC for a year?
I mean, I think that would be terrible for the Golden State Warriors, to be honest with you.
Tallman with all the basketball knowledge.
No, you'd be right. I mean, if they do get stuck, then they're screwed, man. I'm telling you. This is a guy who hasn't been able to make it through a playoff run in the past 3 seasons.
Well, but if he comes off the bench, if he's going to back up Steph Curry.
Well, the Warriors also got stuck with D'Angelo Russell for a season, making a very similar deal.
Oh, he's awful.
Do you think that Chris Paul strikes anybody as a guy who's ready to step into a backup role?
No.
And come off the bench?
No.
Do you think he wants a title that bad? And the Warriors still don't even have the pieces to compete.
We're like 3 years
right now.
removed from him going like 14 for 14 in a playoff game. Probably the best playoff game in Suns history.
No, Mike, I can very clearly answer your question.
He can play ball.
I know,
he's not coming off the bench.
I know that Chris Paul doesn't want to do that to win a ring, and he won't do what it takes to win a ring by any means because he refused to take less than his $30 million salary to stay here with the Suns team. They had that conversation about waiving and stretching him, having him come back on the veterans minimum so they could build this roster out more, have him be a part of it, and he said no. So Chris Paul, good luck, man. Good luck getting into the Hall of Fame with no rings and being 40 years old and still trying to be relevant and playing 30, 40 games a season and never being available in the playoffs.
Oh, Chris, you know he's going to make the Hall of Fame. He'll be a first ballot
they let anybody in these days, man. You stay in the league long enough, you get to be in the
20 years,
No,
and you set career
Mike,
goals.
okay, so he's going to stay in the Warriors, and then the Suns are going to play the Warriors in the playoffs, right? We're going to have a playoff series, and then we're going to play against Chris Paul, except Chris Paul is going to be in the second row wearing street clothes.
Bro, I'm
because he's not gonna be playing.
It's that second round. You can highlight it on the sheet. He just won't be there. Oh, that's tough.
Nah, he's gonna be wearing street clothes, man.
Or he'll be on the roster for half the season. They'll cut him, and then the Warriors will go on and win a ring, and he'll get a ring just because he was on the roster for long enough.
There you go. That's probably more accurate.
And then he can hang the ring in Canton. Oh no, that's football.
He could.
Then finally,
Springfield.
There you go.
Finally, his daughter will stop getting bullied at school.
Oh no,
damn. Okay.
Oh, your daddy went to Golden State and got a ring.
We're getting too far off topic.
Oh my
we
God.
gotta bring it back just a little bit.
Okay. Sorry.
I think that the Chris Paul move was what you had to do. We weren't able to restructure. We weren't going to be able to just fit the pieces in regard to salary to get him off of the roster. And from what Chris was basically saying, he wasn't willing to come back to be a part of this team with the added additions at a smaller, pay rate. And to get off of him is what you had to do. And I know that there's been different sayings where, the Suns, they got the best part of the deal. They fleeced the Washington Wizards. And then other people are saying, well, we'll see in the future with the swaps and the draft picks and all this kind of stuff. And, we even have to talk about the 2 other guys that the Suns were able to get out of this trade with Jordan Goodwin and Isaiah Todd. I know Chris has some infatuation for Jordan Goodwin. In 62 games last year, he averaged 17.8 minutes. He did spend a decent amount of time the past 2 seasons with their G League affiliate, which is Capital City Go-Go. I wish they would have called him a Go-Go. That would have been perfect.
I'm about to go home because this is way too fucking late.
I feel like Isaiah Todd was kind of a throw-in as well, but this is probably the last time that I'm going to say it, and hopefully you guys will hold me to this as well. We bid Chris Paul adieu We thank him for his service and what he's done for this franchise
Absolutely.
the past 3 seasons, bringing us back to notoriety, helping build Devin Booker to that next level to be able to
He built
create
the winning culture.
a
Yeah.
winning culture
Yep.
and have high profile guys want to come and play with him. We're indebted to him at the end of the day, but he just wasn't a piece that's going to take us to where we need to go. And it was time to move on, especially for a guy who couldn't last in 3 playoff series. I know that first run that we had when we made the finals, some of it was injuries, some of it was COVID, some of it was craziness. We were going through a different period in our years, but I think we just know what Chris Paul can bring to us right now, and we need to move in a different direction. So I'm all about it. We'll see what happens with Bradley Beal. But I think, Chris, you might have to echo something after this. I think the most exciting part about the trade was that the Phoenix Suns were able to get Landry Shamet out of Phoenix.
What do you mean we love Shamet?
Goodness, man. Shamet might have became the most hated Suns player in the
15
Valley.
million? What was
After
he making?
his playoff performance. He had one good game in the playoffs.
I was going to say, Game 4 didn't change everything about his entire game for you and your thought process about him, Chris?
Honestly, it did not. Not even close. He showed up, I guess, for one game when nobody else did, and you're gonna have those nights. Every player in the NBA, for the most part, deserves to be there, and it's the toughest league. I always say this, and I will continue to say this. The NBA is the toughest and most talented league in professional sports because of the roster size. There's so many people that play basketball and can play at the highest level, but the NBA is just a whole nother animal. I mean, you look at baseball, they have AAA, AA, single A, they have 40-man rosters. Granted, a variety more positions, but football, 53-man rosters. Hockey, I don't even know how many you're allowed to have on a roster in hockey, but they also have lower levels of it's not AAA, but basically the hockey equivalent of what a AAA team would be in baseball. But more to the point, Landry Shamet is obviously a good basketball player. He can score, but I just don't know if he is an NBA quality talent to be a starter. And that's what Monty Williams was doing. He was having him be a starter when Chris Paul was out, when we needed him most, when he couldn't suck it up. And I don't know the severity of his injury, so I don't want to talk too much shit about Chris Paul in that regard. But Landry Shamet just wasn't the guy. And that was my biggest frustration with Monty Williams, is he always had, quote unquote, his guys. And he trusted these guys and gave them a long leash. I mean, we can go back a couple years and look at a guy like Abdul Nader. What the hell, Monty Williams? So on two fronts, I'm very glad we got rid of Landry Shamet. I'm very glad that we moved on from Monty Williams. And trifecta, I'm very glad we moved on from Chris Paul, because doubling down on what I said, he was never there when we needed him the most. And I hope that's not the same story for Bradley Beal. He is significantly younger than Chris Paul. I think he is turning 30 in a couple days or the end of this month or something. But besides the fact, I'm just I am optimistic for this season, and I've been optimistic about the Suns as a whole, but also it's with an asterisk of these guys being injury prone, to bring it full circle. Mike, you're absolutely right. We got rid of Landry Shamet, which is great. We brought in this guy, Jordan Goodwin, who everyone in Wizards media is saying is a great steal for us, and kind of buried in the lead under also stealing Bradley Beal. A lot of GMs are really scratching their head at this deal. So last thing I'll say before we move on to our next topic is just really curious to see who we can bring in to build around these guys, because right now we have, 8 guys on the roster?
Do you want the list?
I want the list.
All right. Of course, we got Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, newly added Bradley Beal. We still have DeAndre Ayton. And then we have Ish Wainwright, Cam Payne, and then our 2 new added guys in Jordan Goodwin and Isaiah Todd. And Chris, I'll echo your sentiment. I am optimistic for next season, and I'm excited, man. I'm excited because, dude, this team is going to be extravagantly different.
Yeah.
We are going to see so many new faces for this Phoenix Suns team. It can be a gift or a curse. We'll find out when the time comes. But the beautiful thing is that we have our 3 key pieces put together early to be able to go through an off season together, to be able to start training together, figuring out what gets them ticking, and working together to get ready for the start of this season. But like, I'll echo a little bit of Tallman, what he says. Regular season doesn't matter as much. I do love good seating. I love that.
That's big.
I love that.
That's big.
We're going to get into the future with the talks about the in-season tournament as well. That's going to be something that is a different wrinkle that you have to throw into the NBA game as well. What teams might be in a position to really go for that tournament, or what teams might tank it, even if they make it, and just save guys for that eventual NBA championship. But my goodness, we're not even into July and things are heating up. This is crazy, man.
Absolutely. Tallman, you got anything else you want to say about the Phoenix Suns and this coming off-season, end season?
No additions, man. Well, if they don't get rid of DA, it's looking like it's going to be a lot of veteran minimum contracts we're going to see to fill out this roster. So then the whole idea comes in, okay, well, what happens if we don't get rid of DA? How does this team look if we keep DA? Can DA survive in this locker room? Does he have the trust of Booker and Durant, right? So I'm going to talk like we get rid of Aiden, and who can we bring in, dude? I mean, dude, if we can find a way to bring in Draymond Green, I know that's going to be a really... Imagine him on that's like a guy that you hate unless he's playing for your team. That's somebody you hate unless he's playing for your team. When
you really need a guy to go out there and kick someone in the nuts, Draymond Green is your guy.
He's not kicking you in the nuts. He's kicking someone in the nuts for you, okay? If he's wearing a fucking a PHX jersey, dude, hell yeah, sign me up. But
chest stomp dudes left and right.
But we gotta sign some like a Mason Plumlee or something, dude. Like you gotta sign some center that can come in, defend. Get some boards,
defend, rebound,
and somebody that only costs like $12, $13, $14 million, right? But we have to really accept the fact that we might be looking at life with DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah,
like that's what we could probably go another 15 minutes talking about life with DeAndre Ayton.
That's a very
and
real
what this team's going to look like.
Yeah,
because if no one wants to, they've made it clear. What I mean by they is. The Suns front office made it clear that they're not going to let DeAndre Ayton go for pennies on the dollar, right? So if they don't get what they want, dude, we're sitting here and we're looking at that thing. We're looking at Durant $47 million, Beal $46 million, fucking Booker $36 million, and DA $32 million. We're looking at that, and that's going to be our life. Also get ready, guys. The next 3 years, we're stuck. That's our trio. We're stuck. I mean, what's great about Beal
I don't
is
hate that trio.
It's not the worst.
It's not.
Not the worst.
But Beal, I mean, he waived his no trade clause to come here to Phoenix, Arizona.
And now he still has a no trade clause.
And he does. Yeah, we can't trade him. He's not going anywhere. Obviously, Booker's not going anywhere. Durant's not going anywhere. Beal, we physically can't let him go anywhere. We can't move him anywhere.
Tallman.
So that's our okay. If you guys want to buy a jersey, go buy a Bradley Beal jersey. It's going to be good for the next 3 years. So, okay, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'll pass this mic, but I love you and I hate you because this is turning into the Heat Check Suns podcast. But there's so much to talk about because, like, you're right. We could be stuck with Ayton. And I'm just sitting here wondering as you're talking, it's like, if we can't move him, how we know he's an emotional guy. How is he going to play? How is he going to feel knowing that they were trying to do everything they could to get rid of him and in all these trade rumors and nobody fucking wanted him and then he's just stuck here? Mike, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Just take your Chris Paul jersey.
I have a Chris Paul jersey,
put
actually.
Put some tape over the first 3 letters and put a
Beal.
BBA, and you'll be all right.
Well, they were saying Beal should take number 8, so he's BB8.
Oh, he wears 3, right?
Yeah. I think
he's gonna take number 3.
BB8, yeah. Jesus Christ.
But here, let's make a pact. How about we not talk about the future outlook with DeAndre Ayton on this Phoenix Suns team until about 2 weeks into free agency? Let's just wait.
Fair.
Let's just wait. I know Frank Vogel has said great things and how he wants to, change DeAndre Ayton back to his form from his 2021 run and how he has a great track record with big men and all that kind of stuff. But
big men.
Once again, we're going to add it. we're going to add it to the Michael Benjamin, what is it, phrases?
The Mike Benisms.
Not
Mike
too high,
Benisms.
not too low.
Let's just pump the brakes.
Ooh,
Pump
those
the brakes. I like it.
Ooh,
I like
they're
it a lot.
cushiony. Pump them.
And with that being said, let's go ahead and get into talking about our next topic, which will be the Arizona Diamondbacks, the only Valley team that has an active season going on right now. Of course, it is the summer, so baseball is the only sport being played. And our Arizona Diamondbacks, for the time being, are still first place in the NL West. The Giants and Dodgers are making ground fast. As of the recording of this podcast, we started on Saturday. Now it's technically Sunday, just passing the midnight marker. We're burning the late night oil to get this out to you guys. But so far, the Diamondbacks have dropped 2 in the series to the Giants, and the outlook is bleak for us in this one. And maybe going forward, I want to start off with that. Of course, we are first place in the NL West right now, but we have a real tough schedule coming up, guys. Our next opponents in order are the Tampa Bay Rays, the Los Angeles Angels, the Los Angeles Angels, the New York Mets, the San Diego Padres, the Toronto Blue Jays, and the Atlanta Braves. My goodness. How do you guys feel we're going to come out on the other end of that? I mean, Tallman, do you think we'll still be first in the NL West at the end of this stretch? Or I guess maybe at the end of July in this case?
It's quite the stretch, man. So to answer your question real quick, do I think we're going to be in first? I think it's going to be close. We'd have to sit here and look at who the Dodgers are playing, who the Giants are playing, right? Look at the matchups. But I'm not scared of it, okay? So because we sit here and all year it's like we just, okay, one of the Diamondbacks gonna just totally, when's the wheel gonna fall off, right?
Yeah.
When are we just gonna collapse and just crash and burn? So this is actually great because we need this test, right? Like we saw when we played the Braves, when we played a good team. Then when we played the Phillies recently, when they were hot, when they're red hot, the Phillies beat us. They won. They took 3 out of the 4-game series, and the Braves kind of kicked their ass a little bit. So we need this test, right? Because when we get to October, if we get there, we're gonna be playing the best of the best. So I'm not afraid of this test. Like I'm kind of pissed that we don't play the Dodgers until like September or something, because we had to play them fucking 20 times to start the season.
Right.
So I'm all for it because this team needs some stress tests, right? Like we need to figure out, we need to collect that data and see how this team reacts to playing good baseball teams, because we know what they do against bad teams. So I've said this in one of our recaps: good baseball teams beat bad teams, but good baseball teams lose to great baseball teams. So
Yeah.
Are we a great baseball team, or are we just a good baseball team? Right? I know that's so fucking cliche or so average, whatever, but we need to figure out, are we over that hump? Are we the next step up, like to being a great baseball team? Can we beat some of these guys? I think we can, because we've hung in with them. When we played the Braves, I mean, I think we played the Phillies earlier in the season, and they're not, I mean, look at their record. They're not anything to fucking write home about, but we're talking about a team that just came out of the World Series last year. But when we played the Braves, like we hung in there. Like we can hang in with the best of the best. Like the Rays are coming up. I'm really curious how that's going to go. This Giants series is not going up, but I think really with the Giants series, we kind of had a piss poor starting pitching lineup for it. I mean, when you start off your first game against the Giants, you have Zach Davies going up, and he's going to give up 6 earned runs. I mean, come on. Merrill Kelly getting shelled today was a little surprise for all of us, right? We didn't see that coming. And then obviously tomorrow, when we have to rely on Ryan Nelson against the Giants, it's probably not going to go good. And then I'm sure we're going to talk about how we're going to improve our pitching staff at the trade deadline. I'm sure that's what we're going to talk about in a little bit.
Yeah.
But no, I think this is great. This team needs that, because right now we're playing with the utmost confidence, and we need to play those good and great teams to figure out where we sit in that right now. Because right now I think we are a great team, right? But then you're going to throw out that argument. Okay, are we 1 year too soon? maybe this year is kind of our let's get it all together.
Like a bridge year?
Yeah, we know we're good. Like we know we got the pieces, but maybe it's not our year this year. Maybe next year we can really grow into it. We need to fucking figure out and differentiate between what it's going to be. But right now I think it's going to be we are a great team right now. We have a great shot, and this team needs to go all in on this year right now.
I agree with everything you're saying there. We do need to go all in, and that starts with improving this pitching staff because we are a great team batting wise, but outside of our two pitchers, Gallon and Miro Kelly, our rotation is kind of bum. The last three guys that fill out that spot, Davies, and we'll get more into that part of it and on our bullpen. But just talking more about staying focused on this upcoming schedule, and you're right, it does kind of ebb and flow throughout the season as these teams, there are a lot of good teams and there's a lot of, I'll just say that, no, there are a lot of good teams, but I don't know how many great teams there are in the league right now, which does kind of work to our benefit. There are impressive stats that we can throw out about this Diamondbacks team. The fact that they still have not been shut out. They're the only team in the league that has put up at least one run in every single one of their games this season and haven't been shut out. But you're absolutely right. I mean, the Rays right now, they have a 53-27 record. And they came out the gates hot. They had an incredible stretch. I think they went undefeated for like their first 13 or 15 games, something like that.
It was almost a record, yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. But we're starting to see them kind of falter a little bit. They've dropped 3 of their last 5, including 2 losses to the Kansas City Royals, who are one of the worst teams in the league right now, to be honest. They dropped 1 against the Orioles in a 2-game series.
Don't even remind me.
And they lost 2 out of 3 to the Padres, and they even lost 2 games to the Athletics in a 4-game series. So it's not like the Tampa Bay Rays are world beaters by any means. Of course, the Braves are the best team in the NL, and when they came here to Chase Field, they did kind of beat us up a little bit. I think we only got 1 in that 4-game series, which was kind of tough, but again, I mean, just looking again at this roster, the Padres aren't living up to their expectations. The Mets are kind of a middle-tier team. They're right at about 500, but they got some bats. I mean, Pete Alonso is healthy again. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, that one is in New York, but I'm not 100% positive. I don't have the schedule in front of me. But anyway, no, it's right. You're right. You're absolutely right, Tallman. It is a good test for us, and we do need to beat those, even if they're not great teams. We do need to beat the good teams and solidify ourselves as one of those great teams, especially if we have aspirations to make it to the postseason and even win games in the postseason.
And I got to echo a lot of the same sentiments that you guys are saying right now, because this is the test that this team needs, and maybe this front office needs, because to get through July, coming up to the trade deadline around August 3rd, it's going to be a true testament to what needs to happen in regard to this pitching staff. And I mean, you can even see today, like Chris was saying, the bats aren't the problem. Yeah, Merrill Kelly struggled early, but we come out in the 5th and score 4 runs. Now the Giants come back and tie it right away, but it's just not the issue. It's what we're seeing with this pitching staff. I mean, we can look at Zach Davies. This year he's 1-4 on the season, has a 7.82 ERA, and in the last 2 he's given up 15 hits and 14 runs in just about 7 innings. It's just not going to cut it. I mean, Tommy Henry has had a couple of better outings, like we said, Ryan Nelson in his matchups is just not competing with the guys that he's going up against. In this bullpen, we're still searching for the help that we really need. I mean, we've got Joe Mantiply back, and like Chris was saying, once again, in his last 7, he's struggled mightily. 7.45 ERA, just in 9 innings pitched, 12 hits and 8 runs. I mean, these are glaring weaknesses for this team right now. So if they can hold fast and hold steady throughout these really high-profile matchups within the MLB right now, hopefully that will put the binoculars on what we're searching for, which is another starting pitcher and a couple more arms to come out of this bullpen, because you got to strike while the iron's hot. I mean, guys, we just had 2 guys go on to ESPN with Corbin Carroll and Zach Gallen with a full 7-minute sit down with Scott Van Pelt. I mean, how often do we get to see that for one of your favorite teams, to have your guys who are in, award category really chases,
cool.
go onto sets and talk about the success that a team has been having right now. So hopefully it's not just early start and we continue to keep the, wind behind our sails and keep pushing forward, because like you guys said, man, these are going to be some nice matchups to take a hold and hopefully continue the momentum that we've been seeing in the NL West.
Yeah, Mike, man. I mean, it's dude, pitching, fucking
It's huge.
pitching.
It's huge.
It's what it is. It comes. I mean, dude, there's a reason why our nickname is the answer backs, and like we've said it before, like we could sit there, we could be down 4-5 runs, and I still don't feel like we're ever out of that game, because we're just so hot right now on offense. And it doesn't matter who they bring up, man. Like, look at Emmanuel Rivera, man. That guy just came out of nowhere, and he's over here fucking hitting cleanup or hitting fifth, and he's racking up the RBIs, right? So it's all about the pitching. And I'm going to sit here, and I'm not dying on the hill where I remember we came back and I said we need Zach Davies back, because remember he was injured, and I was like, we need him to come back and fill that spot on the rotation. Zach Davies needs to go. Okay, we can't afford. So we already went through the Madison Bumgarner experience. So we have that veteran. And if he doesn't give you quality starts, if he doesn't give you a good chance to win baseball games, at this point of the season, this team cannot afford that. So we can't sit here, even though he's a veteran, he's not one of those young guys that you can just go, hey, we're going to kick you down to fucking AAA, go to Reno, have some fun, figure it out, and come on back later. We can't afford that. Like, we need that short leash with everybody. We need production. We need quality starts out of this pitching rotation, because even though Kelly had a rough start, but he's still a top 10, top 15 pitcher, and you could argue that we have a top 5 1-2 punch in the MLB with Gallen and Kelly right now. So 1-2 was good.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're gonna sit here, and I was very critical about Tommy Henry. He's going to figure it out. I think he's a great quality starter. I think he's going to be part of this team going into September and October. So he's in the rotation. So Davies needs to go. Who can we add to be that number 3 starter? That's going to be crucial. Who can we trade for? We need to add somebody that is, somebody that's established, somebody that's consistent, that we can add to that starting rotation to be number 3. And my guess right now is Ryan Nelson goes down, Brandon Pfaadt comes in. So I bet you right now. So we're going to the playoffs.
But Pfaadt
okay?
didn't even do so hot when he came up the first time.
Well, yes, but he went down to Reno, and he's put together a couple good starts, and he went through a couple mechanical changes. Whatever, he's good. So what I'm going to tell you right now is this is going to be my prediction. We're going to be going into the playoff series, and it's going to be Gallen, Kelly, guy that we add at the trade deadline.
We know we're going to add.
It's going to happen. We have to, dude. This front office has to do it. They owe everybody that. They owe the fans that. They owe the players that. The way that they've been so aggressive with throwing people down when they're not producing. Look at Alec Thomas. Look at Jake McCarthy. Look at Josh Rojas. Look how aggressive they've been with some of their key players. Like, obviously, they are in it to motherfucking win it. So that's why I'm jumping on that third starter is to be determined. Somebody we add at the deadline. 4th is going to be Tommy Henry, because, man, he had a great outing last time.
He's doing good.
He can throw the ball, man. He's got potential. And number 5 is going to be Pfaadt. Brandon Pfaadt. I'm telling you right now, that's my prediction. Going into September, into October, it's going to be Pfaadt, number 5. And what's great about it is that's probably best case scenario for us. Because that kid can dish it, man. He can dish it. Well, he's figuring it out in the minors in Reno, and we need him to be so good. We do. So fucking bad.
You're right.
Now.
You're right. And I want to break that down, because you said a lot there, and it's really, you really made a lot of great points. Like, Fott was a top 100 prospect and a guy that we do expect to be a big part of this team should he live up to the expectations that are set for him. He is still a young guy, so I do want to have faith in him. I think we might have brought him up a little too early. He was even a little shaky in AAA before we brought him up, and I think they wanted to try him out of necessity because these other guys just weren't getting it done. But you're right. The fact that we're bringing guys up, sending them down, kind of shuffling the rotation. I hope Josh Rojas figures it out because I do like him, and I think he could be a part of this team in a playoff run. But you mentioned Alek Thomas there briefly, and I want to touch on Alek Thomas, but like you said, sending Fott down and bringing him back up to get right, that might work because they did that with Alek Thomas, and in his first pitch, in his first at-bat after being brought back up, he hit a 2-run home run, an absolute blast, and that's just fucking awesome, and that's the type of shit we need, is we need guys to...
They did that with McCarthy too. Remember
Yeah,
I took him on the recap? Dude, since he's been back from getting sent down, he's a stud, dude. He's second on the team in stolen bases. The guy is a fucking monster.
But you know what the tough thing is, though, is that we keep talking about how we're going to have to make a move to bolster this starting rotation or bolster our bullpen. We're going to have to give up one of those guys. It could be McCarthy going. It could be Fott going. We don't know. It could even be Alek Thomas going. One of these guys, one of these young guys that we have in our system is going to have to be involved in one of these packages. We can't give up nothing and expect to get something back in return, right?
But you also have to remember what's waiting in the wings. If you do give up one of those young outfield guys, right? It's Drew Jones.
Drew Jones. Do you give up Drew Jones?
Absolutely
yes.
not. Really?
Honestly, I am
look at the
not
core right now,
100%
dude.
opposed to
Yes.
it.
Well, you also have Jordan Lawler, and then you have another guy that's really high ranked. I can't remember his name. Like, you have people that are not within your reach, they're not on the dish right now. You're not eating them right now. They're not the main course.
Okay, so I don't think we could offload him, but I mean, Nick Ahmed's days are numbered with this organization.
Yeah.
And Lawler's going to take his spot, so you don't give up Lawler.
Well, Perdomo plays short.
There you go. Exactly. Nick Ahmed's already been starting to be phased out, but he's still on the 40-man. But Mike, I think you absolutely, if the deal is juicy enough, you might give up a Drew Jones because although he is a very hot prospect, he plays in the outfield, and we already have plenty of guys in the outfield that can produce. Corbin Carroll, Alek Thomas, Jake McCarthy. So it's like we kind of have a stacked outfield, and so I think they might just have to weigh that risk-reward option of do we bring in a pitcher that will not only help us this season, but maybe for 2-3 seasons to come down the road. I think that would be a tough decision to make, but I think it's a necessary one.
And I think that comes with, if you're looking at adding somebody who might be a solidified 1 or 2, not somebody who just might be a 3rd or 4th guy within the rotation. You have to get the right contributions backed in order to take you to a real deep playoff run. I mean, because at the same time, like you guys are saying, is this the year that the Diamondbacks are truly trying to make a push to be contenders and win a World Series? Is that truly what are in the stars for the Diamondbacks right now? We have to think about what's happened with this franchise over the past decade. We've been bottom feeders. We've been struggling, and we finally see some kind of, light at the end of the tunnel, adding it to the Mike Ben isms. Light at the end of the tunnel.
At the end of the tunnel. I like it.
But, I get shades of, if you're going to make a move with Drew Jones, I get shades of Dansby Swanson, once again. A high-profile guy.
Oh, come on.
What are you
Max
talking about?
Scherzer.
A guy who contributed to a World Series win for the Atlanta
He
Braves.
gets hurt in batting practice, dude. Are you serious?
But you can't say that he wasn't a contributor.
No,
and
I'm
how
talking
fast
about
do you
Drew
think
Jones.
that?
I'm sorry. I'm talking about Drew Jones.
Well,
Sorry.
that's what I'm saying. If you're thinking that maybe
Yeah, but he's
next
like
year
19,
is the year,
though. He's
or
too
the
young.
year after, I mean, I think Drew Jones is going to be ready by that time. And do you really think that?
Okay.
Okay, I'll go back to the outfield.
I got a rebuttal for you when you're done.
I probably would be ready to move more off of Alek Thomas than I would be off of Jake McCarthy, because we know what he can do in the outfield on the base paths, and his bunts, dude, are just something else. Like I feel like every other day he's just going for a bunt single and really getting a rally started. And I don't know. Is Drew Jones a generational talent? I mean, only time will tell, but I don't know if I'd be willing to give up on that asset right now unless it's a guy who would be an opening day starter for another team to add in at the third spot, because then you're really just going top heavy with your starting pitching. And if you can get guys who can go 6 to 7 innings consistently, then you don't have to worry as much with your bullpen. You still have to bolster it up. But at the same time, I don't know if I'm willing to give up on that asset that early.
No, and that's fair. I just go back to us having a good amount of outfielders. I mean, we did just get Lourdes Gurriel Jr., who has been a stud for us. I don't know. I didn't find it to when I started making my point, but I think we still got him under contract for a little bit. He's only 29. He's going to turn 30 this year, and he's 2 days older than Ketel Marte. I just learned that.
He's 2 days older than you.
And 2 days older than me. There you go. I think Ketel was probably a couple hours older than me, but that's besides the fact. I just think that, again, you have to make that risk-reward calculation, especially if the deal is right and the time is right. Because, Mike, I honestly do think that with the way the league is right now, this season is kind of wide open. We could totally be World Series contenders. Right now, in the overall rankings for all MLB teams, we are 5th in the MLB. 5th out of what, 32 teams, Tallman?
30.
30 teams?
Yeah.
Man, that's not too shabby for my money. And like I said, the Tampa Bay Rays have been faltering. The Texas Rangers have been faltering a little bit. Somehow the Baltimore Orioles are still right in there. I think they have...
Oh, they're a good team.
A slightly better record than us.
They're a good team.
Now, and then it's crazy because 6 and 7 in overall rankings for the entire MLB are, guess who? The San Francisco Giants and the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Yeah. Yep.
So we're in a really tough division, man, and that is true. I mean, the Padres, again, they have a lot of stars on their team, but they're not living up to their expectations because they're dealing with a similar issue as us right now. Is their pitching staff is not very good. So if we can look at one of these bottom feeder teams, and I haven't really, and that's what kind of makes me a little nervous. I mean, maybe to put some credence to your argument, Mike, is I don't know what is out there for us to go and get right now and who is going to be available. I know I was listening to Arizona Sports 98.7 this week, and I think it was Vince Marotta suggested that maybe Corbin Burns is a guy that we could be going after from the Milwaukee Brewers, but we lit him up. The Diamondbacks lit him up.
And another guy that they were talking about was Shane Bieber from the Cleveland Guardians. And what happened?
We lit him up.
He literally came here and he got torched, man.
Yeah, but dude, every pitcher has their day. I mean, look at Kelly. Kelly got lit up today.
Yeah.
Gallon got lit up a couple starts ago. You know, that's part of the game, dude.
Well,
you're playing professionally against professional baseball players, man.
But that's a perfect thing though. Like, look, that Gallon, when we traded Jazz Chisholm for him, is a guy that the Marlins kind of just gave up on, and now he's our ace.
But then you're talking about
different age because I think Bieber and Burns are a little bit older.
Yeah,
Gallon's only 27. Those guys are in their 30s.
Yeah, but then you talk about Burns though. Burns is on the Brewers. They're still in the race, man. I don't know where the Guardians are.
They kind of are. Guardians aren't too great.
I think they're still in it as well.
I haven't heard.
Yeah, they'll still they're 2 games below 500. Yeah. But going back to it, so the whole overall question is, how do you improve without selling the farm, without throwing the kitchen sink at it, right? So you can't give up all these pieces that you've worked so hard to create and build up. Obviously, like the Carroll, the McCarthy, the Thomas, the everything, like all these pieces, the Fott. I mean, it's how do you improve this team at the deadline without selling off your system? And honestly, you probably don't have a choice. So we're gonna have to get rid of some of these guys. And when you said Drew Jones, I said yes. If we can get a quality starter for this rotation, somebody that we might have not just this year. It's not a rental player. If we can get something that we have him for 1, 2, 3 years, get rid of him. Yeah.
There has to be caveats that go along with it if you're going to give up that kind of an asset. Because
if I'm looking at our outfield right now, and if I have somebody that can play center field, I don't have to put Corbin Carroll in center field. So I got Carroll in left, I got Thomas in center, and I got McCarthy in right. Like Thomas is playing center because he's quick. We have probably the fastest outfield in the entire major leagues. Like, you're talking about guys that are faster than fast. McCarthy's fast. We know how fast Corbin is. The guy is lights out. He can score from fucking first on a fucking single. It's incredible. So then you sit there, if you're a pitcher and you have that type of outfield behind you, you're sitting there, if you're the pitcher, you go, yeah, hit it to the outfield. You can't gap us at all. Yeah, try to hit it to right center. Try to hit it to left center. These guys cover so much ground. It's unbelievable. So I'm so comfortable with this outfield that Drew Jones, Shmoo Jones, whatever. If I can get a quality starter out of Drew Jones, somebody he's 19 years old. He's not proven. You're talking about Alec Thomas, somebody that, like Chris said, first time he got sent down, right? He got his little slap on the wrist. Get better. Get better. Get better, Alec. I keep calling him Alex. His name's actually Alec.
Do better.
Do better. And he came back and he's done better. Same with McCarthy. He got sent down. He came back. The guy's stolen 12 bases since he's been back. And then you got Corbin Carroll, which I'm surprised that the D-backs could even draft him at the 13th or 14th pick. I don't know why so many teams passed on him. But that outfield is incredible. I mean, it's so fast. Like, that's what you want. Defensively, this team is lights out.
So, okay, great. No, you're absolutely right, Tallman. I agree with everything you're saying there. But again, I haven't heard very many names floated out for potential when we're just talking about starting pitchers that we could get. And I want to know if you have any names in mind, but just in my light research here, I was kind of perusing some pitchers on the teams that are a little bit lower on the rung record-wise. And we mentioned the name of Corbin Burns was floated out. This season, he has a 3.96 ERA, which is not bad, but it's not great. But some other guys that I know, and just in my limited baseball experience, that I might like are from the White Sox. There are two pitchers in particular. Lucas Giolito, he has a 3.48 ERA this season. He's a guy that's under 30. And then another guy on their roster who's a young, up-and-coming prospect, Michael Kopech. I don't know if you've seen this guy. He can throw a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. He has a pretty decent slider. Right now he has a 4.06 ERA, but if we can grow a guy like that and bring him in, again, we do need a guy that kind of is ready to go now, which is why I might even, I was looking at the Mariners. They're about a 500 team just below. A guy like, I forget his first name, but Castillo. Tallman, do you remember his first name?
Luis.
Luis
Castillo.
Yeah. He has a 2.89 ERA. So if we could bring in Castillo or Giolito and have him be, we would like to have a number 2 guy, maybe bump Kelly down to the 3rd spot, because I do like what Kelly's doing, but I don't know if it's sustainable. His last couple starts have been a little bit rocky, especially his one yesterday, which would have been, at the time of this recording, Friday, which I guess technically isn't yesterday because now we're doing this late night recording and it's Sunday. But that's getting off the fact. All this to say, Tallman, do any of those names I just mentioned in Giolito, Kopech, Burns even, or Castillo, do those guys pique your interest, or do you have someone else in mind?
No, I like Burns. I like Castillo as well. I mean, at this point, like, beggars can't be choosers with what we're dealing with right now.
But we have to be. I think we have to be choosers. We're not necessarily beggars because we're the top. We're the 5th team in the league, number 1 in the NL West. We just need some help.
No, I got you. The one that really got me was, and this is probably just a total pipe dream. Could the Diamondbacks get Justin Steele from the Cubs?
I like Justin Steele a lot.
So we're talking. So the Cubs are.
That's a great.
They're 12 games out of a wild card spot if the season ended today. They're 12 games out. So could you finesse that? I mean, who knows what their situation's looking like in a couple weeks when the trade deadline comes up. That's the one that, oh man, that would be just a no miss, absolute fucking dart. That'd be incredible if they could do something like that. But again, that's me over here smoking whatever's in my pipe, having fun with it. It's probably never gonna happen. The Cubs are gonna think they're in it. So
I think it would be.
It might cost way too much.
I think to get Justin Steele, it would cost Drew Jones. And Mike, I'll toss this over to you. Justin Steele is a lefty that has a mean slider. He's 27 years old and playing for a mediocre Cubs team this season, has a 2.62 ERA. So this is a guy who could be ready to go and have an impact right away. So Tallman, I'm really glad you brought that up. Yeah. I do like Justin Steele a lot. Would a guy like that be worth it for you to pull the trigger and trade a Drew Jones?
I'm in the camp where I'm only trading Drew Jones if it's a guy, especially if we're looking for packages for starting pitchers. If 2 or 3 years down the road where something happens to Zach Gallen or we find Merrill Kelly sliding back like we possibly could think he is, he could be an opening day starter in the future. It's not just right now a guy who could step in and possibly help and wouldn't be able to solidify himself moving forward within the rotation. I'm still at the fact of there's a lot of unknown with Drew Jones and our outfield positions. Yes, we have a lot of great young talent and we're in such a good position you get rich. The rich get richer, which is a great quote. When you add in a Drew Jones, if you bring in a Justin Steele, I mean, I'm hoping that he would be a guy who could push you through the playoffs and down the road is still a solidified guy within this starting lineup. I mean, like you said, Chris, 2.62 ERA, love it. 8 wins, 2 losses on the year, 70 Ks with a whip of 1.06. I mean, I don't hate it. Unfortunately, 4 of his last 5 outings have been losses for the Cubs. They did win this past Saturday against the Baltimore Orioles. He pitched 5 innings, only gave up 5 hits and 2 earned runs. But yeah, like you guys said, at this point, we're just looking for some help because we know what we know with some of these guys like Zach Davies.
Yeah, to start the year, dude, Justin Steele was their 5th pitcher in the rotation.
He's young. I mean, that's crazy to say 27, but that is pretty young.
I mean, come on. Behind Hendricks, Stroman, Talion, Smiley.
I like Jameson Taillon. He went from the Pirates to the Yankees, and now he's on the Cubs. Not necessarily a guy I'm saying we should go out and get, but I don't hate Taillon. I don't know, all this is ignoring the fact that we. In Justin Steele's situation, he's in his last 4 starts. What you said, 4 losses for the Cubs, or
he didn't get the losses, exactly. But the Cubs lost, yeah.
and that's my point. He didn't get the loss because it's the bullpen, and the D-backs need bullpen help as well. So we can talk all day and night about the starting rotation, but if that guy goes out and whoever it is pitches 6 or 7 solid innings, and then we have Joe Mantiply come in and give up 6 runs, we're fucked anyway, and it just won't matter. So, again, I don't have too many names in front of me for potential relievers even. I think Aroldis Chapman, as old as he is still technically, I think he was released, or what's the technical term for baseball? Designated for assignment, which is a weird term in my opinion. But regardless, I don't necessarily know if he's the answer. The only name I had written down that I have my eye on, because I really don't know too much about the relief pitcher market or available relief pitchers, is Scott Barlow from the Kansas City Royals. Really only saying that because I have him on my fantasy team, and I know he has the potential to get saves, and he has given up some duds. He has blown a few saves, but he's on a bad Royals team right now. All being said, and I don't want to go too much into the relief pitcher conversation because the bottom line is we need help on both fronts, starting pitchers and in the bullpen. And regardless of how good our bats are, they've shown the ability to get 4, 5, 6 runs every game. But if the pitching staff is giving up 7, 8, 9 runs, we're gonna lose. And we just got to do something at this trade deadline, man.
Yeah, I want to correct myself. The Cubs are only 6 games out of a wild card spot.
That's 100% off from what you said initially.
Yeah, it was. I misspoke about that. So at this point, if we really want to talk that shit into fruition, we need the Brewers to do really good. So let's root for the Brewers, right?
I guess so.
So yeah, I just want to correct myself on that. I apologize.
It's all good, man. It's all good. But we're gonna keep covering the D-backs. Of course, they are the only team in season right now. We have Diamondbacks recaps up on our YouTube page every 2 weeks, so you can keep up to date with everything that's going on with the Diamondbacks. The All-Star game is going to be July 11th in Seattle, I believe it is, and we have a couple guys that are probably very likely to make the roster in Corbin Carroll and Lourdes Gurriel Jr. So make sure you guys are going and voting for them. Zach Gallen as well. That makes sense. Zach Gallen is pushing for a Cy Young. Corbin Carroll is the front runner, clear-cut choice for Rookie of the Year. So, man, there's a lot to be excited about, and we are going to keep following it. But make sure, to my point, that you go out and vote while you still can for the All-Stars. I think there's only a couple days left. Hopefully there's still days left by the time we get this out. Should be on Monday the 26th or Tuesday the 27th at the latest. And whenever you're listening to this, regardless, make sure you support your Diamondbacks either in person, on TV, on Twitter, wherever you can, because this team is going places, and I am very excited personally. But guys, it is almost 1 a.m. as we're recording this, but we do have one more topic we need to discuss before we get out of here, and that is the Arizona Cardinals. Not a whole lot to report. They did just have their voluntary OTAs and the mandatory minicamp, which Budda Baker was in attendance for the mandatory portion, right?
Yes.
Which is good. We like Budda. We think he's going to be the anchor for our defense, and not high expectations, so I don't want to get into that too much and rehash all these conversations we've had bashing the offseason so far. But there are a few interesting topics I want to discuss, and one of them was, I forget what the outlet was, but they reported or posted that their top 75 fantasy players for the upcoming season, and there were no Cardinals players on that list at all. No Hollywood Brown, no James Conner, and no Kyler Murray. Of course, Kyler Murray's slated to miss the majority of the season, or at least half of it. But guys, do you take that as disrespect, or is that fair that there's no players in that ranking in the top 75?
Yeah, let's get it right though. There was a handful of lists that did us dirty like that. There's some that come out and put James Conner at like 55, Hollywood at like 65, but there's a couple that came out, and there's nobody in the top 70. I don't blame him, man. I really don't, because to start the season, I mean, we're sitting here. Who's going to be our quarterback?
Colt.
No, I want it to be Clayton Tune. Bad.
I kind of do want it to be
Clayton.
Tune.
Yeah, all right.
Clayton
so I know I was so critical on him.
If you're going to lose games, you might as well just give Tune some opportunity.
Why not? Right?
I wanted them to take that Thompson kid out of UCLA.
The third Thompson twin.
Yeah. No.
Oh, no, not related.
I'm
sorry.
Dorian Thompson or something. I can't remember his name. The only reason I wanted them to take him is because he had a similar style to Kyler. Clayton Tune was a little bigger. He's more of, but Clayton Tune can fucking run. He's mobile. He's a playmaker. So I think it's my tune is changing on Tune, right?
Love it.
That's great.
I'm starting to warm up to the kid. I think he should start week 1. Honestly, I think they should give him a chance. But then there's reports coming out that Kyler is going to be back. He's only going to miss 5 or 6 weeks. Reports. Who knows? We have no idea. I mean, if I'm Kyler right now, I mean, do you want to come back to this to this whole absolute just shit show of a franchise, of a team, of what's going on right now with this roster?
I don't care what he wants.
That's what he should do. I mean, the guy already got paid.
If you're the leader of the team, you should be chomping at the bits. That's another one. Yeah, that's another Mikeism.
And Kyler is a spring chicken.
Yeah, there you go.
Adding them all back to the
killer. Yeah, he should be like just itching, man, right? I don't think I answered your
chomping.
Chomping. What was your question though? I don't think I answered it.
It was about just because you kind of corrected me. Is it disrespectful?
Yeah.
Because you're right. There are some.
I said no.
Of course, there are a ton of rankings and fantasy outlets and different websites and places that do fantasy sports. So they all have different rankings, but there are some that don't have any Cardinals in their top 75 or top 100. So, like, Mike, I guess I'll ask you the question since Tallman didn't want to answer it.
I said no. God damn it.
He did finally answer it. So
He did. All
I
right,
did.
I'm sorry,
I
Tallman.
tried
I'm
my
sorry.
hardest. I was taking a hit.
So for my answer, you just got to look at everything that's been happening with this team, right? I can't believe we're at this point where in October of 2021, this team was 7-0, and now we're already back in a rebuild, building
AJ
for
Green,
the
turn
draft
around.
in 2024. I mean, what our biggest offseason addition was off-ball linebacker Kazir White, Jonathan Gannon's buddy.
Yeah.
He's a good player though.
But he is.
Yeah.
You know, I do like the draft pick of Paris Johnson Jr., but he's not even going to be protecting Kyler Murray to start the season. I mean, guys, BetMGM is putting us at 4.5 total wins, and it has to come for a reason.
Bet
It
under.
has to
That's
come for a
generous.
reason.
Yeah, bet under for sure.
You look at us last year, we were dead last in yards per pass. I mean, Murray's net yard per pass attempt was 32 out of 33 in the NFL last year. And here's the cherry on top. The Cardinals haven't won a championship since 1947, the longest title drought in major North American pro sports. So we just have a stigma that comes with us. When you don't win for so long, I know we haven't been in Arizona since 1947, but when you stink, it finds a way to really go deep-rooted and just come through the soil, and is just really, really... man, I got to waft it away.
Yeah.
We're tanking this year, guys. We're tanking.
Yeah.
It's a tank year.
Who was the longest before us? Oh, I think it was the Cubs, right?
The longest drought? It had to be
Yeah,
the
it was the Cubs.
Yeah.
And then when the Cubs won the World Series a couple of years ago, it was like, oh, now it's the Cardinals.
Now it's the Cardinals.
Yep.
Yep.
I think it was the Cubs, if I remember right.
Because, I mean, the Cardinals do have a championship. It's just not a Super Bowl win, right? I believe. That's irrelevant,
Well,
though.
back in 47?
Something like that.
Yeah, that was before it was even...
When they were still in St. Louis or
Yeah, it
Chicago or
wasn't-
whatever.
well,
So to go back...
it wasn't modern
Irrelevant.
era.
No, exactly.
Yeah,
but
it
we're
was
talking
not-
modern era.
irrelevant.
It wasn't even called the Super Bowl until they merged with the AFL. Yeah.
So to go back to answer your question, no, not surprised. I mean, all the off-season additions and subtractions and everything that's been going on. Our main high-profile guy in Budda Baker basically not wanting to be here anymore. All of the things that have been going on within the facilities and everything with Michael Bidwell, us losing draft picks with Jonathan Gannon. I mean, we're still within the middle of the shit show, guys. Like, to expect a core and a franchise to translate all of this nonsensical shit onto the field is it's just not there. And you're starting to see it early within these predictions for fantasy players. And I could see James Conner being a guy who just gets a lot of touches because they're going to try and milk him for all he's worth. But I mean, who's going to throw the ball to Hollywood Brown? Who of these rookies, who's really going to get opportunities to really produce? I mean, I hope this team scores 17 points a game, but like that's going to be a high ask from what's going to start for this season. So
Yeah, no,
the optimism is I'm struggling to find it at this point.
You're right. No, and nail on the head there. I mean, you're right, because what quarterback is going to throw to Hollywood Brown is the biggest question. How many yards, catches, touchdowns, whatever is he going to get? So I understand why he might not be ranked as high. And on initially, your first thought, especially as a Cardinals fan, is, well, of course, if the quarterback isn't great, they're going to pound it with James Conner. But I can see, again, from a national perspective, and these guys building this list, is he's shown that I don't want to say fragile, but he's potential to get injured, especially if he has a high workload. So you could draft him and he could have 4 or 5 good games, but then is he going to miss 4, 5, 6 games with an ankle or a knee or some type of contusion? I mean, that's just the nature of sports and football in general, is that guys are going to get injured, guys are going to get banged up. But when you're putting such a high workload on a guy that's already has an injury history in James Conner, then I think that's where the skepticism comes in, and that's why maybe he wouldn't be ranked as high. So I totally get it.
Do you guys want to do 2023 predictions? Do it live.
Not right now.
Oh, it's way too early.
We'll do that down the line.
You don't do like. Come on, we
Go
know
through the
we
schedule.
know who
do
they're
the
playing.
predictions. No, I don't want to do it yet. No, we
sure?
gotta
Not
wait.
ready.
It's June, Cody. It's June. I mean Tallman. It's
I
June.
gotta have a
correct
solidified
yourself.
starting quarterback stated from the team.
Dude, doesn't matter.
And then we can start to
All
put
right,
it
so
together.
just
Correct.
assume that Kyler Murray is going to play every game.
He's not.
No, but he's not.
No.
not.
Even if
What
you
if
went through
Clayton
and if
Tune-
you assumed that he was going to play
I'm
every
not
game.
assuming.
But Tallman, what
No,
Dang.
we're going like 3-13, man.
What if Clayton Tune starts the season? Does he add 2 or 3 wins to your total?
Yeah, watch us go
to your
4
total?
now.
He good. That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
watch us. What we're gonna beat the Commanders, Giants, Cowboys, and 49ers. We're gonna go 4-0.
Maybe. Tallman, I'm with you. I mean, I hear you. I want to go through this list. I want to do our predictions, but we've suggested this before, and I think it's best we wait. We wait until July or August, and then we do it at that
Are you
time.
guys scared? We
And
can.
we
We can.
also-
We can revisit them.
I'm not scared. I just want the full picture.
write them down. We can do it.
We
want the full
also
picture.
need to pump the brakes, Tallman.
Oh,
We need to pump the brakes, Tallman.
God.
We are 90, 95, 96 minutes into this podcast recording. We're creeping up on 1 a.m. as we're recording this. And I do want to wrap this up probably here pretty soon. And if anyone is still listening this late in the podcast, thank you so much. I'm sure you're already subscribed to our podcast and following all our social medias. We got at AZ_VSP on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram, and then Valley Sports Plug on YouTube and Facebook. Make sure you're following us so you can stay up to date with all the latest Valley Sports action and what we cover and talk about with that. And also, leave a comment. Let us know what you think. Let us know what your opinion is, and we might shout you out on the podcast or live stream. But we're talking about the Arizona Cardinals as we're winding down this 18th episode of the Heat Check podcast. And I can't believe we're about a year and a half into this endeavor of relaunching Valley Sports Plug. I am just so ecstatic that we've been able to keep this momentum alive. We've added so much, and we continue to expand and evolve as we move through this. And it wouldn't be without your guys' support and feedback out there. And I hope you're a part of this ride and you enjoy it. I want to talk, though, a bit about Kyler Murray specifically because he did get injured in a game in the middle of December. I think it was against the Lions.
The Patriots.
The Patriots, excuse me. And I was hearing and reading an article today that the normal rehab time for his type of ACL injury is somewhere between 9 and 12 months. So that would put him coming back either in August or September at the beginning of the season or December, which would be when he originally got injured. So we have heard these reports of him rehabbing well. He's looking really good. He is at these mini camps and OTAs. And in that same article, I was reading Jonathan Gannon singing his praises, saying that he's the first guy in the facility and he's the last guy to leave, which is really what you want to see in your leader. So we're hearing these reports of him walking the walk and talking the talk. But I think maybe walking the walk is a bit much because that comes to him actually being on the field and performing and producing. But I'm just curious, you guys have kind of mentioned, I think, that the fact that does he want to come back to a team that's destined to tank and lose a lot of games? And that fine line of do you rush him back versus I think Gannon and this whole staff wanting to see if he's really the guy they want to move forward with into the future, or if they want to maybe try and trade him or move him elsewhere. I guess my question would be is, do you bring him back as soon as he's ready, potentially in September or October, if he's really ready to go and chomping at the bit? Or do you kind of pump the brakes and say, hey, man, I know you could probably play now, but with the roster we have built, we're going to really slow roll you and not bring you back and maybe have you play 6, 7, 8 games.
You hit him with 2 of them there, Chris.
Yeah, look at that.
Chomping at the bit and pumping the brakes.
Good
on.
job.
You're rubbing
love
off on me, Michael Benjamin.
Yeah.
What can I say?
Are you going? Am I?
I'll do it. I'm kind of torn because within this season, right, we're still trying to figure out what our total game plan is. But if you look at the trades that were made through the 2023 NFL draft, we're building this capital for next year. So it seems like we're going to try and put our eggs in our basket for next year. So if that's your plan, I don't think you rush back Kyler Murray because maybe he comes back, is in great form, gets this team to a couple more wins than you think you would honestly get. and then you have a lower draft pick than you possibly could get, because there's a lot of people saying that the Cardinals have the opportunity to have the first 2 draft picks in 2024.
Crazy.
Which is honestly crazy to think, but also there's the side of me that says, you invested a lot of capital in this guy. I want to see him play. I want to see him perform. And I want to see if he's truly the guy of the future for this team. And the earlier you can see that, the better. Because if you are a team that stinks and you can get Kyler Murray in week 4 or 5 and stink throughout the entire season and know that he's not really a part of this future for Monty Ossenfort and Jonathan Gannon, then you can move forward with the possible transition and making a high-profile pick like Caleb Williams from USC. But I'm torn, man. I don't know which way to go, because I'm still in the camp that I think Kyler Murray has serviceable things to provide for any NFL team with his ability to run and his ability to throw the football. I mean, like, let's not lie about this, guys. Like, the guy can sling it. He is limited. We know that. But if he can put it all together within the right system, I want that to be the guy. And I know we've had all the off-field nonsensical stuff, and I know, Chris, you hate it, but that's where I become torn from that.
I just have to chime in, Mike, because I don't disagree with what you're saying, because Kyler Murray, he is a former Heisman winner. He is that dude when it comes down to it, but my biggest concern is coming off an ACL injury like this, what is the one thing that separated Kyler from the pack? It's not his height, it's his ability to run. And coming off of this injury, is he still going to have that same explosiveness? Is he going to have the confidence to do that and have that be a part of his game? He's not ever going to be a pocket passer.
Right. And with that being said, I think that's where you lean towards letting him sit a little bit longer, even if he's ready to go by week 4 or 5. I know Tallman was talking about some reports where guys are saying he might be ready to go earlier than we honestly thought. But if he doesn't have his legs under him to contribute in that fashion, you're not going to get the best out of Kyler Murray. And I want the best from Kyler Murray.
I disagree with you. He needs to come back as soon as he's ready. So, dude, come on. We're not talking about somebody that you pay like Jimmy Garoppolo. You don't pay him like Derek Carr. You don't pay him like... who knows? Like, he's not a subpar quarterback. You don't pay him like that. You paid him like a Josh Allen. You paid him like a Patrick Mahomes. You paid him like a Lamar Jackson. This is a guy that needs to come back, and he needs to play as soon as he's ready to go. And if I'm Kyler Murray right now, and I'm ready to go, I'm healthy, and I'm sitting there week 4, watch my team go 0-3, 0-4, I'm going to be like, dude, I want to get in there right now, because honestly, I think he's playing for his job right now. It's crazy to think about, because he's owed so much money. Dude, we owe him the goddamn bank.
We haven't even started paying him.
Exactly. This year is when we start paying him.
I think it's next year.
I think it's this year. Pretty sure it's this year.
And that's a great point, man. I mean, the people who paid him were Cliff Kingsbury and Steve Keim. So he is playing for his job, because the entire front office is brand new.
Well, yeah. I mean, good point. So he's coming in.
It's not until 2025.
Oh, fuck us. Jesus Christ. Are you sure it's 2025?
Okay. No, it's not 2025. It's next year, 2024. But even still, the fact of the matter is he's only making like 7-8 million this year. And so it is kind of what you're saying is it's his prove it year, and he has to show that he is that dude. And to Mike's point, new regime, the head coach and the GM have totally turned over. So is Kyler going to be the guy moving forward? That's what we really have to figure out. And I understand, Tallman, what you're saying is, like, from Kyler's perspective, he wants to come back. He wants to prove himself. But it's not about what Kyler wants. It's about what the organization wants.
Well, okay, so we don't know how he feels or what he wants, whatever. I'm just saying, like, if I was him, I'd want to come back. And, like, he's a competitor. He wants to come back. He wants to be great.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And, man, that's crazy. I didn't know that he was only making Are you sure he's only making $8 million this year?
Yeah, it's like $2 million salary, 7.5.
Who the fuck are we paying this year, dude? Nobody. Are we even touching this? This is ridiculous. This team is wow, absolutely just wow. And you can't pay Budda Baker? Like you're sitting on a fucking treasure trove, and you can't pay fucking Budda Baker goddamn fucking starter fucking money in the NFL. You can't pay him top 10 safety money. You can't. Motherfucker's requesting a trade. He's holding out of voluntary workouts. You can't pay him that money. That's ridiculous.
Well,
pay that guy.
The funny thing is, Budda Baker is still the highest paid player on the Cardinals roster.
Well, he is, but not. He's not. I'm talking about in the league.
No, I know. I don't disagree with
he's
you,
a top.
but
Because
when you ask about who we're paying,
who are they paying?
Marquise Brown, Zach Ertz, DJ
God.
Humphries,
Oh,
James
God.
Conner. That's pretty much it. Isaiah Simmons is getting like $6 million or something like that. It's funny because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Our Paris Johnson, our draft pick, is like the 10th or 9th highest paid player on our roster.
Dude, what's sad is when you have we're going to call him a franchise quarterback right now, okay? Don't get it wrong. But when you have a good quarterback on a rookie deal, you capitalize on these years where you don't pay him that much. So obviously we sold out. We fucking gave him the fucking bank. So what's sad is we can't capitalize on that year where he's not making that much, right? And we have enough leeway to pay other guys to contribute to a winning effort.
Yeah. And it's just not
sad. It's sad the way it went.
Whether you bring him back or not, that's still the case,
Yeah,
right? Because there's nothing around him.
I mean, I'm not blaming.
Did you say who do I blame?
No. Who do you blame it on? Not you particularly.
As Cardinals fans, who do we blame it on?
Yeah,
I think you blame it on Michael Bidwell.
I blame it on Steve Keim. I'm going Steve Keim.
Keim's a great pick.
It's not Austin Ford.
But we've talked about this before on past podcasts. It starts from the top down.
Yeah.
And Michael Bidwell we've heard now former players that have left the organization or have played for the organization in the past talk about the shit that we've touched on where they had to pay for Gatorades and meals and shit that other franchises just don't do. It's a common trope with Valley Sports owners, aside from now that we have Ishbia, but he's coming in, but they're cheap. They're fucking cheap, man.
Yeah, he's cheap. Okay, but I'm saying, how does this team go from 10-2 to just absolutely just atrocious? So what happened? We just totally were squandering the fact that we could have totally capitalized on this last year of his rookie contract.
Dysfunction.
It's horrible, man. It's terrible.
Their first taste in the playoffs for a long time, and they weren't ready to show up, and they got their asses shown on national television, and they couldn't pick up the pieces from there. That's what happened.
And then Kyler Murray gives up. He doesn't even go in. You have Colt McCoy sitting there saying, "Hey, dude, you should probably go in. Go out there for your teammates. Go out there and
that showed the leadership there.
And he wouldn't. And Colt McCoy had to go in and finish that game.
And you have guys even in
the
this
grossest thing I think I've ever seen.
Even in this just offseason, what was it? Kelvin Beachum who said Kyler needs to grow up. Do you think he grew up in 5-6 months?
No.
Kyler, he can be the first guy in, the last guy out. He can have all the praise and smoke blown up his ass, but he's still the same guy.
Anybody can work out, man.
He has to prove himself.
You want me to move some weights? Yeah, here we go. I'm going to pick this up and put it fucking down. Anybody can do that. Oh, he's a gym junkie. Oh, he's good. Okay, I want to see him on the goddamn field. I want to see him on the sideline. I want to see him fire some people up. I want to see him fucking put something together and win a goddamn football game. When is that going to happen? Oh my God! You're doing so good in rehab. Oh, you can squat 500 after you blew out your fucking ACL. It was ACL? It was ACL.
ACL,
right? Yeah. Who cares, dude? Get out there, do some fucking 9-on-9 drills or whatever it is. I don't know. So I think the question was, what?
Go. No. What was the question?
Why are you doing that whole face thing? Look at
because Mike was gonna say something.
Looked like you had to poop.
And make sure you stay tuned to TikTok at AZ_VSP, where Tallman will be squatting and throwing 9-yard outs.
No, I said like 9-on-9.
Well, you're going to be throwing 9-yard outs. Chris will be out there running around,
Yeah.
so you could
You're
toss
running.
some
Yeah.
balls.
You're running. Okay,
Yeah.
Running.
I know that people want to
'Cause you
see
said
that.
anybody
no,
could do it.
No, I think it's 7-on-7.
We'll all do it. It's normally 7-on-7.
It's 7-on-7. That's
Correct.
what I meant.
Yeah.
Not 9-on-9.
We knew what you meant.
I fucked that up.
You're all good.
I'm with you though, bro. Yeah, I mean, they put the tape out there to make sure that you're feeling good and you're feeling warm about the progression and that kind of stuff. But only time will tell.
Yeah, but his question was, is he going to be the guy though?
I guess largely, yeah. Is
So
Kyler going to be the guy?
So we're going to talk about how we might have the first and the second pick in the draft next year.
I'm okay with moving on from Kyler. I just bluntly say that I don't give a
I am
fuck
too.
about what
I am
he's
too.
squatting or how early he gets to the
He
facility
could squat on my face.
or how much Warzone he's playing. I'm sorry, Kyler. I'm sorry. You were a great college quarterback. I don't think you're a great NFL quarterback. Period. I don't think he will be either. And I don't think he will be.
Well, this is his season. Like that's why I'm saying, like, chomping at the bit, bro. Get back, come in, prove to the new coaching staff that you're the guy. Prove to them that you're the guy that they paid, this and that, whatever. So if that happens, like, he's gonna play this year. He's going to. If he comes back week 4 or comes back week 9, week 10, like, he's gonna come back and he's gonna play. So we're gonna see how he does. And I really think that what the front office really weigh is however he does, like, you gotta, like, man, if he comes out and he's just a total bum, granted, he doesn't have a lot of supporting cast around him. Obviously, this roster's complete dog poop.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, but then you do the Cliff Kingsbury thing. Well, you know, or the Steve Wilkes thing. Well, he didn't have a chance to win. You know, he didn't. You know, he had a bad roster. Like, you didn't give a chance or.
But that's also what you hope for from a guy like that, where he's going to take those next steps and get extra wins for being the leader and being a guy who can really change the face of an organization. I mean, we saw it to some extent when he started winning the Rookie of the Year and that. But, I mean, what did we get from him last year? The Oakland Raiders game? What else did we get? We got underwhelming performances consistently until he was hurt.
And he had weapons.
Yeah, he had great.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he can talk the talk. Gannon and Austin Fort can talk the talk, but we need to see Kyler walk the walk. And I agree with you to some extent, Tallman. You want to see him given opportunities, whether it's half a season, 3/4 of a season. But at the end of the day, I will just be very blunt here. I don't believe in this kid whatsoever.
But can you move off of a guy that you haven't even started paying yet?
Hopefully,
you signed him to all this shit. He's making, like, he's gonna get $230 million. Can you move? You can't move off of it.
The Dolphins will
No
take
one's
him.
gonna trade for him.
The Dolphins will take him.
Well,
We'll take
yeah, you
Tyreek
think
Hill
so?
after this
Yeah,
time frame.
no one's gonna trade for him. You can't get off of him. You're screwed, man. You're absolutely fucking screwed.
I know Tallman wanted to do predictions here for the season.
I wanted to. Yeah, it would have been really quick. We'd have gone no.
It would not have been quick.
Commanders.
But
yes.
here's
yes,
a quick
yes,
one.
No.
Here's a quick one.
Go.
Early, before the season, before anything has happened, predictions. Like we said, BetMGM has placed us at 4.5 wins. Under.
Big time under, dude.
Under.
Dude, if we win, we're going to win 3 games.
That's generous.
Yeah, we're going to win 3 games. And it's going to be, what's funny is we're going to beat the Commanders in week 1. I know it. We're going to go 1-0, and they're going to be like, oh, look at the Cardinals. Oh, my God. Hey, this is the jack-off hour.
Yo.
And to answer the question that I posed, I'm going to go with over.
You're going to go over?
Okay.
No, you're crazy.
Okay. Well, guys, I feel like with this Kyler Murray stuff, we're kind of starting to talk in circles. I do want to do our season predictions a little bit later on, maybe in our July or August episode. But before we get to the 2-hour mark, I want to just pass it over to VSP Tallman first to give you the opportunity to share with us your final thoughts on anything Valley Sports related, whether it's Kyler Murray, the Arizona Cardinals, the Arizona Diamondbacks, or the Phoenix Suns, or even the Phoenix Coyotes if you really want. Or the Arizona Coyotes, I'm sorry.
Is it Arizona
It's
Coyotes?
Arizona Coyotes,
All right,
yeah.
Well, fuck them.
Phoenix Rising, even if that's...
They lost Shane Doan, so... Oh, man. No, anyway. Last thoughts, dude. Last thoughts, really?
For now. Just
For
for
now?
now.
Oh, just for
We'll
now?
be back.
Okay.
We'll be
All
back.
right.
We'll
All
come
right.
back
All
in
right,
July
great.
and we'll
All
record
right.
an episode.
So,
maybe we can get you on a live stream to share your thoughts in
Yeah,
between the supplement.
maybe. Yeah,
maybe.
Okay.
Maybe.
All right, awesome. Keep your eyes out on the D-backs. Trade deadline is going to be huge. This front office is going to be aggressive. I know it. And this team's going to do good. Cardinals-wise, don't get your hopes up. We're going to be really bad. Kyler Murray's going to try to play for his job, and we're going to figure out how we can get rid of a quarterback that we owe $200 million.
It's a tall task.
That's a hot take right there. Yeah.
I like it, though. Michael Benjamin, what about you, sir?
Mark your calendars, July 11th, the 2023 MLB All-Star Game. I'm going to put another prediction out there. I'm thinking at least 3 Arizona Diamondbacks are playing in that game.
I like it.
Oh, man, I'm just so excited. This is exactly what we need to get us through this damn hot summer, man. Let's get Corbin Carroll and Lourdes Gurriel Jr. in the starting lineup, so make sure you get out there and vote. But it doesn't stop, man. I mean, we're so far away from football. We're still talking about it. The Suns are making crazy moves. Make sure you're staying tapped into everything we got going on. We got live streams weekly. We got recaps for the Diamondbacks going on every 2 weeks. We just appreciate everything. And thank you guys for staying tapped in. And thank you, Chris and Tallman, once again for letting me come out to the seedy side of the East Valley to rock with y'all super late on this Sunday morning.
You love it out here.
Well, I won't say I love it, but I love y'all. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, nobody loves it out here.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys coming out to Studio A. We're recording this in the deep East Valley, soon to be a city here in Santan Valley. But
get out and vote.
if you live in Santan Valley, get out and vote. No, I like what you guys said there. I'll touch on the Suns a little bit. Very optimistic for their future, and I'm really excited about this Brad Beal move. Also, like I stated earlier on, a bit concerned about these guys and their ability to stay healthy. I hope they get enough games in together and are all healthy and available come playoff basketball time in 2024. That's so far away. And a lot to keep tabs on. You know, the Suns and the Cardinals are in their off seasons, but main focus right now is on the Arizona Diamondbacks. Michael Benjamin said it. July 11th, the All-Star game is coming up, the midseason, and then shortly thereafter, we will see the trade deadline. So hopefully some moves are made. Hopefully we can build out this roster a bit more as far as pitching staff is concerned with the starting rotation, and hopefully we get some help in the bullpen. And I think that's just a common theme with the Valley in any sports team is hopefully. That is my key word for this podcast is hopefully. And again, and just kind of bouncing around here, seeing what happens with DeAndre Ayton. Is he going to be on this team? Is he not? Things move fast here. So in July, when we record episode 19 of the Heat Check podcast, we could be talking about a totally different landscape for all of these teams. But for now, we will leave you with that. Make sure you follow us on Facebook and YouTube, Valley Sports Plug, and at AZ_VSP on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. I thank you so much for tuning in if you made it this far, and I know you'll be tuning in for much more, and we appreciate that. So for Michael Benjamin and VSP Tallman, I am, of course, Chris Patrick, and we will see you next time.